Okay, what we have now is when our slugs are coming out, they're dropping down and hitting the floor. What are we going to do? Usually the doors on the delivery slide, there's springs on them that pull them open and push them closed, and those springs will either get weak or broken. So what we're going to do is take the delivery slide out. First thing we do is we remove this screw. What this does is attaches the two front latches so that they work in conjunction with each other. So we're just taking that out of the way. And then on the delivery slide, we have a screw here. There's 3 screws on this side. We loosen our top wiper. There's a screw down inside here, same as those other 2. And that piece can be removed. Then on this side of the delivery slide, you have 4 screws. The only 2 we want to concern ourselves with is the one in the very back and the one in the very front. The other 2 leave alone. So you want to loosen the back one. Then you want to sneak your blade down in here and loosen the front one. At that point, your delivery slide should be loose, and you just pull up on it and pull it out. And there's 2 screws in this piece that you want to, that'll stay in there. Be sure to keep these 2 screws together because they have a smaller head on them so that they can fit down in these little grooves. They're exactly the same as a mouthpiece screw in thread, but the head is smaller. So if you lose one, you can take a mouthpiece screw and grind the head down and it will fit. Some of the newer machines, a mouthpiece screw will fit in there anyway. They made the hole bigger later when they decided that they'd sold enough of these screws. What I have going here, these are the 2 springs that close the doors. These are the 2 springs that open the doors. So when I pull this out from between it, these doors flop shut. And that's the way they should do. They should snap shut when this is laying upside down. And that's due to these 2 springs right here. This one actually had 2 weak springs on it, and the doors were flopping open, so it was dropping its slugs yesterday. So we repaired that and put the new springs in. Now these 2 springs up here are flat springs. And what they're designed to do is when this arm here slides down into this channel, it will open the doors as it pushes in on it, both sides. So that's how it opens up when it gets down here to the end, is by using these and these 2 little flat springs that are on here. They will break from time to time, and you will have to do the same process. Take this out, take the doors off, replace the springs. They have a little rivet that holds them on, and then adjust them. The adjustment is, save my 2 little screws. You put something sturdy on there and press it tight so that this comes flat with the edge of that, and these doors should go open. Same thing on this side. Press it in so that this door comes open like so. That way when this drops down between them, it can drop down between them cleanly. This is your wiper on the top. What that wiper does is just basically a cushion, because the top of your slug hits that, and it keeps it from scarring the top of your slug and making the slug unusable. And that's your basic adjustment on this. You also have a wiper blade, this brass wiper blade. And to replace it, you turn it sideways and slide it off of the pin. It has a little hole there. You slide it, to replace it, you slide it back on and twist it around. It's got a little dimple that fits in that hole, and that keeps it from falling out, but lets it be loose enough. What that does is when the delivery slide comes back, it should wipe the top of your mold and keep the trash off of it, so that when you come up against your mats, you do not have anything on top and cause you a squirt. Because if there's any metal or anything on top of that, it will hold it off. And it doesn't take much to hold it off to get metal to squirt out. So now to replace this, after you get done making your adjustments and replacing your parts, the easiest way to replace it, and this is the only time you want to turn this machine backwards. You want to activate your clutch and come up on the belt. You want to go down on the belt, go down on the belt till you hear a click. All right, we just heard our click and the mold is moving up. So now we want to turn this backwards. And what I'm doing is I'm getting this arm in center position so that this can just drop right in. If you don't do that, what you're fighting is you're fighting against a spring right here. It can be done, but you've got to have 3 hands to hold this, hold that, and hold the other piece at the same time. So to do it easily, you just want to back this up. Now this piece, I want my screws back in. Now this piece fits into this slot on this side, and there's a gear there, and there's a gear track. This just slides in there so that it can move your puller as it moves back and forth, it'll move the puller. Now what I'm doing here, there's a pin that has to drop down into this section. So you want to line that up and then drop that in and then move this arm back until it falls down on the 2 studs that we left in there we did not remove. Once it falls in on those, you can tighten these other 2 screws up. This one's kind of hard to get to, so you need a kind of skinny screwdriver. Those are snug. What I do before that is I squirt a little oil in those channels. I did that yesterday, so I didn't think about doing it again today. You take a little oil and you squirt it on this because that's what holds this other side in. Tighten the screw, lay this down, put your wiper back on, close that and tighten it back down. Then you can tighten your middle screw. Now some people are seeing this and they're wondering what that hole for. That hole is also an oil hole, so don't forget to oil that as you're going around oiling the machine. You want to put oil in that hole. Then we can put our latch back on. I'm going to turn the machine on and let this come back to home position. That's back in home position. Now, people are saying, how did he do that with the top up? Why didn't it squirt? Well, there's a safety on this machine, and it's right over here on this side. Right down under here, there's a cap that goes over an arm. That arm goes all the way to the back and attaches to this back rod. As long as this cap is over the end of that rod, that plunger won't go down. It's designed that way so that you can cycle it. So what I can do right now is I always look down there and make sure that's in safe position, that the cap is over the end of the rod, so I can actually cycle the machine. And that's full cycle of the machine. What's happening is there's, 6 cams in here. Each cam does one operation. What's going to happen first when I lift this is this mold's going to come up. When it comes up, it's going to lift this arm up and lock it in position by this lever here. When that gets to the right height, the pot's going to swing over and come underneath the mold. It's going to make its plunge, make its cast. The pot's going to swing back to the left. The mold's going to go down. The delivery slide is going to go back over the top of the mold. It's going to get in position so when the ejector blade comes up, it'll push the slug right up into here. When it pushes the slug up into here, it raises this arm. That comes forward. This piece here brings it out and drops it on the tray. So it's going to happen kind of quick, but this is how it goes. Mold's coming up, pot's going over, it made its cast. That's going back, this is going down. The hook is going all the way to the back, it's pushed this up. The hook is pulling the slug out and dropping it in here, and this drops back into position. During all this, you have two lines on here. These lines are attached to your water pump, and there's a water tank on here that circulates water through this mold all the time. If 9 times out of 10, if it gets blocked up, it's going to block up on this back channel. Water will go in this one, and it'll come up here and go down both sides of the mold and back out, back into your tank. If this back channel gets blocked up, you'll start having stuck slugs or hollow slugs. The way to test for that is turn it on, cast 3 slugs, turn your machine off, raise the top, and with the back of your finger, gingerly fill both sides of this slot. If this slot over here is decidedly hotter than that side, then you've got a plugged up mold. That's the easiest way to tell. So what we just did was go through the delivery slide adjustments. We explained the safety, and we explained how the water channel works on a Ludlow.